Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockerell. Lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and of course, I'm here with Lee Cockerell. And Lee, this is a big episode. I don't know if you keep track because you don't celebrate milestones that much, but this is episode 600, Lee. Can you believe it?
I knew it was coming up. It's hard to believe because, as I told you when you called me, I didn't even know what a podcast was years ago.
Years ago, it's been 11 years, little over 11 years, and 600 episodes now, millions of downloads, listened all over the world. We get questions from people from all over the world. It's been fantastic. Before we talk more about that, I want to mention our friends and partners at Magical Vacation Planner. They've been with us for not all 600 episodes, but a very long time. Most of the episodes, I think maybe they came in a couple years after the show started. So they've been with us a long time. We wanted them to join us for episode 600, but as you would expect Jamie and JJ from Magical Vacation Planner to do, they were traveling and could not make it. But if you call them, they can help you set up any vacation you want. I'd like to tell you, you should tell them you heard about them on episode 600, but really it doesn't make a difference whether you heard on episode 600 or 502. But call them at 407-442-2694 and let them know you're really excited about episode 600 of Creating Disney Magic, and that's why you want to travel. Lee mentioned we started this show years ago, and I asked him if he wanted to do a podcast, and he didn't know what one was. So looking back over 600 episodes, Lee, what do you think about podcasting? Do you still like it after all this time?
Oh, yes, it's really turned out to be great because we've reached so many people, and I've heard from so many people from so many countries and places I couldn't even imagine. Some of them I still stay in contact with. They come to Orlando, give me a buzz, and we go for coffee. It's an amazing thing, I think, podcasting and just obviously the internet in general, but to use it this way, to be teaching and sharing information and people appreciating it. And we always say people are the same all over the world. They like to learn new things. We've been able to do that. It makes me feel good. I said being a teacher is better than being a boss.
Yeah, and this has been a great avenue. I remember when I was trying to get at the essence of who Lee was before we started this, back in 2014, the year we launched the show, and Lee said he did want to do it. I took about 2 months researching Lee, trying to figure things out. Who is he? What has he done? And one of the things I asked Lee, with all that you've done, the window on Main Street, the career at Marriott and Disney, the books, what's the one thing you want to be remembered for? And he surprised me and said, I want to be remembered as a teacher. And I feel like this podcast has been a great platform for Lee to be a teacher. Do you think that's true, Lee?
Absolutely. And I think now we have the ability to do it with technology that you can really reach far and wide. I always thought I knew something because I worked forever for Hilton, Marriott, and Disney and three great companies. So you learn a lot in those three companies. Really the right way to do things. I always wanted to think that I knew more than a lot of other people because just the companies I worked for and the experiences and the exposure I had and all the cities I'd lived in around the world and traveled to. And we get positive feedback, which is good. People say they like it, which is always nice to hear, and that they learn from it. I get those comments fairly frequently from somebody said, oh, I never thought about that. Well, that's what happens when you get a lot of experience and exposure. You know things that not possible to know any other way. And so it's been great.
One of the things that has really helped over time, I try to act like it's just me and Lee, but we've got a great team of people that help us. One of them being Lindsay Barnes, who has joined us for this episode because Lee and I kind of wanted to highlight to say, hey, this isn't just us. We don't do it just the two of us. We may want you to think that, but really we've got great people. So welcome to Creating Disney Magic, Lindsay.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I can confidently say that both of you have been teachers to me and not bosses. I appreciate all of the knowledge and all of the opportunities.
I learned a long time ago not to boss women around. That's why I've been married 58 years.
That's a good lesson to learn.
It's going to stay. I'm good.
Lee did the math earlier and realized that Lindsay was not even in high school yet when we started this podcast. It's really interesting to have her join us because Lee is 82 now. I don't know if Lee wanted me to give that away. Lindsay's 24. Lee's at the end of a career. Lindsay's at the beginning of a career and in a position where she gets to learn a lot from the people that she works with. But the reason we decided to have Lindsay on the show is Lee did this write-up that he shared with me that sometimes he'll share with younger people that highlights the difference between a public resume and a real resume. The public resume for Lee Cockerell is all the great things he's done. Marriott, Hilton, Disney, Window on Main Street, written great books, has one of the best podcasts in the world. Some people will tell you, and it's just nice and polished. And it is all these years summed up in a couple of paragraphs. But the real resume goes on for pages, all these ups and downs, all these things you wouldn't expect. I realized, gosh, this will be much different if we have someone younger talk to Lee about the difference between real experience and what people see. So that's why Lindsay's with us. But first, I publicly want to say thank you, Lindsay, for all the great work that you do for me and Lee. And Lindsay does all the work. I take all the credit, and I don't mind that that happens. But thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you
Yeah.
for the opportunity.
Before Lindsay asks you any questions, give us some insight behind this, your public resume versus your real resume.
Your real resume is probably what you want everybody to think you are, but you got all this experience and you know what you're doing. You've been successful. We don't ever much talk about the downs and the moments when you weren't doing well. I got fired once. I got passed over once. The sheriff confiscated my furniture once because I broke the lease early. It's just amazing the things we don't know about people. And sometimes when you know those things, it kind of helps you understand what they went through. How did they build that success? Certainly going through experiences and exposure, which I like to talk about a lot, is because you learn so much. Priscilla and I have moved 11 times in my career. We've lived in Washington, Chicago, LA, New York, Paris, Springfield, Massachusetts, Orlando. You would think the police are after us the way we move around all the time. I took those different moves for opportunity. Or when you get fired, it's not an opportunity, but you move on. That was in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. A lot of people say, I don't want to move. I want to stay where I grew up, and my mother doesn't want me to leave and all. And luckily, Priscilla's father was a Navy admiral, so she moved all the time for 32 years. They moved all over the place for reassignments. The Navy doesn't ask if you want to go. They tell you where you're going. I left home early when I was 20, left Oklahoma. We were real open-minded about it. It was never an issue, actually. We didn't even care where it was because we really enjoyed everywhere we lived. And I remind people, you spend 99% of your time at home and work anyway, so it doesn't much matter where you live as long as you're happy going home and you enjoy your work and you enjoy your job, and it turned out great. I keep talking about experience and exposure and the things like I went through, which you have that list of, and I just did that recently to try to think back chronological order how things happened in my life because you said you took a while to get to know who I was. I still don't know who I am. Thinking through those things, it's interesting. You don't know what they created for you. Each one could have been a disappointment, or even sometimes you do things you don't know why that was probably triggered way back, something that happened to you when you were growing up, and it was either good, it was positive. Like my grandmother was extremely positive in my life, and getting fired certainly wasn't. And then you have this lack of self-esteem sometimes because of things that happened. Getting passed over for the last big promotion at Marriott really kind of wounded me, but wasn't long before Disney came along, so I got even with everybody. It's just those ups and downs. It's what real life is. I did that because I wanted young people to realize you're going to have downs, whether you like it or not, and don't worry about it. There's nothing you can do about it. It happens, it happens. You pick yourself up and you go out and have a great attitude, be reliable, keep learning, and you learn a lot when you have exposure and great experiences. It's even like my son. I told Daniel when he graduated from college, just join a good company and stay 5 years. They'll train you. And then if you don't like it, you can move on. That'll be on your resume. It'll be a great experience. I think people undervalue or underestimate the value of experiences. Those get burned in your brain. You don't ever forget the experiences. You might forget everything you learned in college. A lot of knowledge is not relevant anymore for maybe the kind of work you're doing, but the experiences are. I really learned that I'm always shocked at how little I know every day. Just it's shocking to me what I don't know. And I find it's really a lot of fun to learn. And I was not a good reader. I didn't like to read. Now I read every single day. I can't wait to get in bed and get my book out, read for an hour because I enjoy it now. I didn't even know I enjoyed it because I'd never done it. I learn things. You slowly but surely maybe learn who you are and have regrets of what you wish you'd have done, but you didn't. So you got where you are by what you did do. People say, if you could go back and change something in your life, what would you change, Lay? And I said, well, probably nothing because it triggered everything else that happened to me. If I hadn't dropped out of college, I wouldn't have gotten the Army. If I hadn't gotten the Army, I wouldn't have gone to Washington. I wouldn't have met Priscilla. Daniel wouldn't have been born. And then I wouldn't have had a French daughter-in-law and all that goes on. It's all just so connected. If you take one of those things out, the rest of the things don't happen that way. I used to say I wish I'd finished college, but what if I had? I might be married to some lady in Bangladesh or who knows where. And it turned out good for me. I would say with the ups and downs, I'm generally pretty happy with my life being complete now because it came together finally after all that turmoil. I guess that's how life is, ups and downs, and you end up where you end up. A big good thing is as you learn, you make less mistakes as you learn about people, how to handle people, how to be respectful to people, how to treat everybody well, how to not fight and argue with people and blame it on your own insecurities. And that takes a while to learn. I'm still learning. The more you learn, the quicker you can get better. That's why I really push people. Knowledge, learn, get experience, get exposure, get out of your village, go to the big city, learn to love people from any country, any religion, any background. All people are the same. Every country I go to, they have babies and strollers and they love them. The people are always the same. They're the same everywhere. They want to be safe, like their children to have a good life and be safe. When you learn that, you're pretty much on the right track. That's my life.
Lindsay, hearing all that Leah's had to say and reading through his real resume, given where you are in your professional career, what questions do you have for Lee?
Reading that write up was very enlightening. And something that really stands out to me is that you didn't have the quote unquote traditional path to success. In the write up, you mentioned that you weren't the best student, that you dropped out of college, that you got fired, but yet you continued to keep moving forward. Could you just talk about how attitude and reliability can actually have more weight than having the perfect path to success?
I think if you don't have a good positive attitude, you're going to go down fast because you're going to have problems in every part of your life along the way. Disappointments or things that don't work out or personal problems that happen to you or your husband or your wife or your loved ones. Frankly, since I was married early and young, I didn't really like working, but I had this deeper responsibility that I had to take care of Priscilla and Daniel. I would think responsibility drove me more than anything else. Even when I joined Marriott, they give you one of these psychological tests about who are you. Mine started out, Lee Cockerell really doesn't have any respect for authority. He doesn't trust anybody. If he didn't have to work, he wouldn't. Now, that all changed over time because I finally fell into something I loved. I like what I do. Somebody asked me recently, I said, why do you do this? Why don't you just lay on the couch and retire and have fun? And I said, because I enjoy it. It's my golf game. And when I do it, people clap. And I need it because I'm so insecure. I need people clapping a lot because it makes me sleep better. Resilience is you either go up or down. Maybe if I'd have been single, I might not even have been as good. Might not have worked having Priscilla and Daniel. I mean, when you got a baby and a wife, you better get a good attitude because life doesn't care whether you're successful. Only you can care. And I would say each time was a surprise. I just kept trying to get a good job. I never had a goal. I never thought I'd be promoted. Every time I got promoted, I was shocked. And even I used to tell people, oh, I don't want that job. That's to save my self-esteem. So if they didn't give it to me, but I really wanted it at certain points. But even when I got promoted at Disney to be executive vice president, I was totally surprised. I mean, I don't know what happened. And I think that points to something that people are watching you and they're watching your performance and they're watching your attitude and they're watching your reliability and people really want you for what you can do for them. They soon forget about whether you have a degree or you understand physics or algebra or whatever. It's what can you do for me? I really push hard on trying to get people to think about what you can become an expert in So no matter what, you'll be the person people go to for something. And you can develop expertise by just focusing on it every day and reading about it and learning and getting experience and get good at something, then you'll have more opportunities. Don't underestimate what you can achieve. I worry about so many young people. They're just underestimating what they can achieve because they've grown up in a situation where they didn't see success, they don't feel success, they are angry. If you're in a situation like that, that's why I tell people get out of it, move, don't stay there. If I'd have stayed in Oklahoma, I would have gotten nowhere. And I got out of there. Change your environment if the environment's not satisfying you and making you happy. When you're unhappy, you need to move on because that'll take you down quicker than anything else. And there's so many people suffering from anxiety and depression now because they think they're lost. They think there's no hope. They think there's no way. They can't afford college. Their parents were poor. That's why you got to change your environment. I changed mine. And actually, I went to Marriott when I got passed over for that job and asked to take a demotion to a general manager. I wanted to go learn more. I was announced to everybody, Lee's no longer a VP, he's now a general manager. Bit my lip and took that. And next thing I know, a year and a half later, Disney called me and made me famous. I got a lot of satisfaction out of that, by the way. I shouldn't, but I did. I rubbed it in a few people. Actually, people used to call me and say, "Are you crazy, Lee? You're leaving Hilton, go to Marriott?" Marriott's never going to be anything. It's just a little nobody company. Later on, I told all my Marriott friends and Hilton friends, let me tell you something. Parents don't tell their children when they grow up they'll take them to Marriott. They'll take them to Disney. Don't ever forget that. So I'm in a good spot. It's unpredictable. Every morning is unpredictable. You got to go with the flow. You don't have any choice, actually. I think we think that we'll just be angry, be mad, and it's not fair. Well, nobody cares, actually. So you better care because nobody cares. And I know that. I know that people don't really care deeply because most people have so many issues in their own life they're struggling with that they love you until they don't. And then they lay you off. The world is tough. Sooner you try to be as good as you can be, the better you'll be. What'd they say? Get up every morning and do your best. That's what my father-in-law said. His advice was get up every day, do your best, and forgive yourself. That's all you can do. If you do that, odds are things will work out. The odds are better when you wake up with a good attitude and you're reliable. The odds go up pretty dramatically. There you are, Lindsay. That's all you need to know.
Perfect. You mentioned something interesting. You said, don't underestimate what you can achieve. And I think a lot of people today feel like they're behind if they aren't taking this traditional path of college and starting a career and getting promoted. What would you say, given that your path was a little less traditional, what would you say to those people that feel like they're behind?
Well, you're never behind as long as you're alive. So the quicker you can come to understanding life, that people start at different ages and people have different successes at different times in their life. But I think even listening to these podcasts and understanding from my point of view or Jody's or yours or anybody else is to give them some encouragement to quit believing what they believe. And the best way to do that is to exit the environment you're in and go out to a world where nobody knows you. You get a new start. That's what happens. Nobody knew I was fired. Nobody knew I'd been passed over. And sometimes you got to exit the place you are because people have long memories. If I'd have stayed at Marriott just to doing my GM job, people never forget. They always remember, oh yeah, and didn't he? Yeah. And I might not have gotten promoted again. People just have a long memory, and sometimes it's better to leave that environment and go start over. Go do your thing. That's a hard job for some people to leave their community, their family, their home, their place they feel comfortable. To go to the big city is a big deal for a lot of people. It's like, whoa, go to New York? Are you kidding me? New York? And these are places where you really thrive. This is where you learn so fast. You're on a speedier route when you go to these big cities because you just learn every day things you did not know. I went to New York. Man, I knew nothing. I had to learn what finger bowls were and wine glasses. I had to learn the names of food that I never heard of. I had to eat oysters. I didn't do any of that stuff in Oklahoma. We had one fork, one napkin, and maybe two meals, or three. Exposure is just amazing. And you know that. You guys travel all the time. And I'm sure you're learning all the time things you didn't know before you started doing what you're doing now. Jody, too. Jody, I know he grew up in a little town. He left. He left. He wouldn't be running a podcast. He'd be down there. Who knows what he'd be doing? That's what happens. Exposure is just, wow. It's an education. You can no longer deny it because it's real. It's right in front of you, and it happened. It's not theory. Exposure is not theory. It's real. You can read about people getting fired, but do you been fired? That's real. I think that's the kind of way to think. Anything's possible. And that's why I talk about reliability and attitude. That's all people can see of you. They don't know what you don't know. They don't know. As long as you have a really good attitude and you're reliable and you show up and you're always paying attention, you're learning, they give you the benefit of the doubt. They give you a chance. I said there's no upside to being angry. There's no upside to not being cooperative. There's no upside to being late. There's no upside to having a bad attitude. None. None of those will do you any good. So just don't do it. And it is true. Even if you're unhappy, smile anyway. You got to control those emotions because everybody's struggling these days. They're really struggling. Everybody's got that. Right? We talk about anxiety. It's so high right now. People are so insecure and so worried and getting laid off and terrorism and inflation. And it's just one thing after another. If you can get yourself into a place where you feel safe and comfortable and you enjoy your life, you're ahead of 99% of the people in the world. You own that. You own that.
Well, this being episode 600, we're going longer than we normally would. It's kind of our celebration. Even though it's just the three of us right now, we wanted to do a longer episode for you to celebrate 600. Lindsay, do you have one more question you'd like to ask Lee?
There's one part that you talked about in your write-up where you say that there was this German banquet captain that kind of took you under his wing and taught you a lot. Could you just talk about the importance of people finding mentors?
I think it's everything. I went to Washington, D.C. I'd never been in a hotel. I'd never been out of Oklahoma. I'd never been in a nice restaurant. And I go into the Washington Hilton, into the personnel department, and I apply for a job. They're going to open in 2 weeks. They'd hire anybody. They were looking for people. And they said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I don't know." And they said, "You can be a banquet waiter." I didn't even know what that was. The banquet I went to was my high school graduation in the basement of the YMCA. I took it. And I walked into that ballroom. It seated 3,000 people, no pillars. I mean, every president, every famous person in the world goes there for banquets. And I'm going to be a waiter. I know nothing. And Kurt, he was a German. Everybody else on that staff was from Europe. It was easy to get a green card then. They'd all been recruited. They all knew their stuff. They were all speaking French and German. I'd never even seen a linen napkin before. We had to fold these famous napkin folds and all this stuff. And Kurt took me and he started showing me. Every time he scheduled me to be around, he'd show me how to fold things. He'd teach me and let me taste different foods, and he'd tell me what they were. I probably would have been fired. If you have a good attitude and you're reliable, people will spot you. And people like that. I made his job easier because anything he wanted me to do, I did. He said, come in at midnight, I'd come back, or breakfast, come back. It went both ways. And that's why you want to be a good person and reliable. Somebody will spot you because there's a lot of people that aren't that way. And today, if you're in a group, it's easy to get spotted if you're great. Because there's a lot of people late and not coming in and they're not happy and they don't have their name tag on and they don't want to. It's easy to stand out. Just have a good attitude and be reliable. And Kurt spotted me at the end of the day. You know why? He liked me. That's it. At the end of the day, if people like you, they give you a better shot. That's it. They like you. I try to go around making sure people don't hate me. Because when they hate you, they do bad things to you. They talk about you behind your back in a negative way. And I want people saying good things about me. Now, I'm sure there was a few negative things along the way over the years, but it's just so simple. Be a good person, be kind, be nice, just do your job, be reliable. I mean, that's all you need. People won't even ask if you have a degree. They really won't.
This has been a great conversation. Lindsay, thank you for being willing to join us. I know it's a little intimidating. No one has ever really joined us to do an episode like this. So thank you for being willing to do so.
Thank you for the opportunity, Lee. Thank you for sharing your story.
Now it'll be our fault if things don't go well for you and you listen to us. So
there you go.
Use your own judgment.
Well, congratulations on 600 episodes. That is something that not many people will ever achieve.
That happened because Jody pushed me. We never missed a Tuesday in
11 years.
11 years. Never missed a Tuesday. That's reliability.
Wow.
We came close.
And even when we didn't have a good attitude about it, we acted like we did.
Yeah, we recorded some from France, other places I was. Wherever we were, we got the recording done. And I think that just shows you can, if you want to, be reliable. And people like it.
One of the favorite places we recorded, Lee, looking back, was at the Nashville airport when we sat on the shoe shine stand and all the people gathered around to watch.
There you were. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are. They thought we were famous.
In Nashville with microphones must be famous. So that was a fun one. We hope you have enjoyed this look back and episode 600. The entire archive of Creating Disney Magic episodes can be found at leecockerell.com. We hope you'll check those out. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.